Welcome to the InfoBrokerWorld podcast, where business intelligence meets global strategy, empowering entrepreneurs with the insights they need to stay ahead.
For any business leader building a brand with long-term vision, registering a trademark is just the beginning. It's a declaration of ownership, but it doesn't protect the territory on its own. The true asset lies in the distinctiveness of the brand, the recognition, the trust, the reputation built over years of strategic positioning. But that distinctiveness is constantly at risk through imitation, misuse, and silent erosion. And often, this erosion doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in, slowly, quietly. This is why proactive trademark monitoring is not a legal luxury. It's a strategic necessity. It serves as an early warning system, a protective barrier, and a critical line of defense for brand identity. Trademark dilution occurs when third parties use a mark or something deceptively similar without authorization. Initially, the damage may seem insignificant, but over time, the mark loses its sharp edge. It becomes blurred. The association with a single source, your company, weakens. And when customers start to confuse your brand with others, your market value begins to slip. We've seen this before. Aspirin and Xerox were once among the strongest trademarks on the market. Today, they're often used generically, and that shift has stripped them of critical legal protection. The only effective countermeasure is early intervention, and that's precisely what monitoring enables. By tracking newly filed trademarks, domain registrations, and marketplace usage, companies can detect potential threats in time to act, ideally during the opposition period, which in many jurisdictions lasts only 2 to 3 months after publication. Responding at this stage is not only faster and more cost-effective, it's far more likely to succeed. Waiting until after registration, or worse, after damage has occurred, means battling uphill in court. But dilution isn't always active. Sometimes it's passive. And in that passivity lies another danger: genericization. This happens when a brand name becomes so widely used that it turns into a category term. Consumers no longer see it as a specific brand. They just see it as the thing. Google, Velcro, Thermos, all have faced this risk. And it's why companies like Xerox went so far as to publish usage guidelines to teach people how to use their trademark correctly. Without education and consistent oversight, even the strongest brands can fade into legal ambiguity. Trademark rights are not self-enforcing. Intellectual property offices, like the German DPMA, do not automatically check for conflicts with existing rights. That responsibility rests squarely with the trademark owner. And if infringement goes unchallenged for too long, legal defenses like the doctrine of laches can come into play, essentially punishing the rights holder for waiting too long. That's why documentation is key. A consistent history of monitoring and enforcement shows not only seriousness but vigilance. It deters potential infringers. It strengthens your legal standing. And it protects your mark from being slowly eroded into meaninglessness. Monitoring also reveals valuable insights. By observing the trademark activity of competitors, you can often detect early signs of new product launches, market expansions, or strategic pivots. This is competitive intelligence in its purest form. It allows you to adapt, innovate, and position yourself ahead of the curve. Trademark data, when viewed through a strategic lens, becomes a window into industry momentum. Of course, the volume of global trademark data today is staggering. Thousands of filings occur weekly, and in a world where markets are multilingual and jurisdictions vary widely, manual tracking is no longer viable. This is where technology, especially artificial intelligence, becomes indispensable. AI-driven platforms scan online marketplaces, social media channels, e-commerce sites, and trademark registries continuously. They don't just match words, they identify visual patterns, phonetic similarities, and even contextual cues. Through image recognition and natural language processing, these systems detect infringements that humans would likely miss. And when issues are found, many platforms now generate enforcement documents. cease and desist letters, takedown requests, and complete evidence reports automatically. But technology doesn't replace judgment, it enhances it. Legal experts remain central to the decision-making process. They interpret the findings, evaluate the risks, and craft a strategic response. Whether the right move is to oppose, to negotiate, or to escalate, that call requires human insight. Attorneys also navigate complex procedures across jurisdictions, helping businesses prove prior use, counter bad faith registrations, and comply with procedural nuances that AI alone cannot resolve. Equally important is what happens inside the organization. An IP-aware culture empowers teams, from product development to marketing, to identify potential risks early. Employees become the first line of defense. They know when to raise a flag, they understand what brand misuse looks like, and they reinforce a consistent, legally sound use of your brand in the marketplace. So what's the bottom line? Trademark monitoring is not a static task. It's not a checkbox, it's a dynamic, ongoing discipline, and when done right, it transforms from a reactive necessity into a proactive business advantage. It protects what you've built, it fuels your strategic intelligence, and it helps ensure that your brand, your identity, remains clear, distinct, and powerful in a crowded, competitive world. By investing in smart monitoring tools, expert legal guidance, and internal education, you're not just managing trademarks. You're building long-term brand equity, you're safeguarding trust, and you're creating the kind of resilience that successful businesses depend on in today's global economy. That is what makes trademark monitoring not just a legal function, but a true strategic engine for growth.
Thank you for listening to the InfoBrokerWorld podcast. If you have any questions about today's topic, feel free to reach out via the contact details in the show notes. This podcast was created using AI tools. If you're interested in producing your own AI-driven podcast, from concept to audio, feel free to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead.